Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at Collin Morikawa, still one of the best iron players on the PGA Tour, still a top 15 player in the world. He's a two-time major champion, don't forget. He won the PGA Championship and the Open a few years ago, and what a beautiful swing. Few unique moves in Collin's swing that I think make him quite a consistent ball striker. So let's just rewind this and take a look at some of the movements that he makes. So first of all, setup, he's got the shaft pitched at around 49 degrees. Quite an athletic looking setup. We've got his torso here at sort of 52 degrees. And one of the things that you'll see early on in the backswing with Collin is that he does an excellent job of just keeping that shaft on plane. You know, very, very early. The club head stays outside of the hands until he gets to this position, P2. So Collin's a fader of the golf ball, likes to work it from left to right. And for all you faders out there, doesn't hurt to get the club head outside of the hands at this position in the backswing. A couple of things I like to check at this point. So, the angle of the club head or club face here against the angle of his torso. It's a little bit weaker than neutral. So neutral would be these two lines running in parallel, but not a huge issue for Collin. As he takes the club up to the top, so the shaft's going to work through the trail arm quite nicely. He's going to load into that trail hip. And does an excellent job again of just like using the ground, and as a consequence, what you're going to see there is he just starts to lose a little bit of height as he brings it to the top, and that's him sort of really pushing into the ground with that trail side. Shaft works underneath the trail shoulder, and then at the top of the backswing, he actually gets quite high hands here. So the lead arm, is working a little bit higher than the shoulder plane. Tour average shoulder planes, between 40 and 44 degrees. And then there's a couple of sort of key things for Collin. So first of all, the trail elbow is going to be well in front of the trail hip socket, and that just means you're going to have a ton of room on the way down to swing that right arm, which is never a bad thing. And of course, Collin's signature move is this kind of, bowed lead wrist. Very modern day characteristic. So you're going to see Dustin Johnson, John Rahm, and Victor Hovland sort of hit this position as well. One of the advantages of doing this is, first thing to say is getting the lead wrist into this position is a face closer. So, he's got quite a strong club face here at the top of the swing. He's pretty much already closed the face. And so what that means is he's not going to have to work very hard on the way down to square up the face as he comes into impact. It's totally the opposite to the more classic player or classic swing where they would have, more of a flat lead wrist or maybe some cup to it. And those players, would have to do quite a lot of work into downswing to square up the face. And often that would involve quite a lot of forearm rotation, hands rolling over. And when you're doing that, it then becomes a question of timing everything up. So on the good days, everything's good. But on the bad days, when things aren't, your timing's not quite there, you tend to miss your shots. So this gives Collin quite a lot of consistency. If anything, because this is in such a bow position, he's probably going to have to do some work on the way down to open that face or give himself some opening quality. So I think we'll see that in a second. As he moves into transition, it just does a beautiful job of shallowing out the shaft. It's already at this position on plane, it's pointing sort of well outside of the golf ball, which is what you want. The right arm sort of works in front of him quite nicely. Again, he's sort of pressing into the ground very nicely as well. Let's just roll this back a second. So one of the things you want to sort of look for here, guys, he's getting some incredible numbers. Just draw a line between the lead shoulder and the belt buckle, 30 degrees, 31 degrees. You've got to have amazing core strength to be able to get into that position but a lot of the best ball strikers all seem to do it. I mean, if you have a look at some old Tiger Woods videos, not necessarily the early 2000s, but mid 2000s, late 2000s, he was hitting some insane numbers like 23, 24 degrees. Dustin Johnson is another one that has incredible core strength and is just able to get into this position. So, that is seriously impressive stuff. He's going to bring this club down into a beautiful position there where the shaft works through the forearm, and absolutely love this. So, he's got some nice angles in his hips. He's shifted into his left side, which means the lead hip is going to be working higher than the trail hip. Love seeing this position with the sort of bent right arm and a lot of space in between the right arm and the lead arm. So again, that's just going to give him a whole ton of room to be able to swing that right arm into. And there's actually, there's a few players on the PGA Tour, some of the best ball strikers in the world, that sort of get themselves into this position. I mean, Victor Hovland is one of them, bent right arm at impact, and that actually prevents the face from sort of closing again. So, that's sort of one of these opening moves that I think Collin tends to make, just to make sure that he doesn't hit it off the planet left. So what else have we got here? Let's bring this back. So we're just gonna, other thing to look out for here, guys, is when you're in this position, good indication of how open or closed the club face is, or how neutral it is if you were to imagine a clock face, you kind of want this pointing at about 1 o'clock, or anywhere between 12 and 1 o'clock is good. Anytime you sort of get into the 10 or 11 o'clock sort of space, your club face is wide open. You're going to be hitting it a mile right. So brings it down into impact very nicely. Again, look, this is what I'm talking about here. So he actually has to raise the handle a little bit, I think, to stop this ball from going a mile left. So when you raise the handle, it actually opens the face slightly. And I think he, he's got that club face so closed because of that lead wrist that he's going to have to do something, not, to stop that sort of face from turning over. And I think one of the things that he does is just raise the handle. But, compresses the ball beautifully. It's a very passive release. Hands work underneath him, low and left. The shaft comes underneath his lead shoulder. Let's just have a quick look at this shoulder plane as well. Yeah. So the again, very, very good if you're getting the shoulder plane steeper than the shoulder plane at backswing. And then always a good sign to see the club face sort of pointing back towards the camera here. That kind of generally means that you haven't rotated the face that much through impact. Quite a passive release. So, yeah, wonderful stuff from Collin. Let's just take a look at the face-on view. So again, we're just going to draw a couple of lines on him here. Boom. We'll draw one up into the lead side, and then we'll get some on his hips. It's just some textbook movements here. So again, shifts into his into his trail side very, very nicely. Loads into it, pressed into the ground, loses a little bit of height. And then the key move from Collin face on is when he gets towards the top of the backswing, even before he's completed the backswing, you're just going to see him shift, do this sort of lateral shift. And it's only a few inches to begin with, but that just sort of re-centers him a little bit and just gives him so much time in the world to rotate. And as he, starts to work the club down, he's going to continue shifting. And this line here is called the wall. And what you'll find with a lot of great ball strikers is sort of half of the lead leg, gets through that wall coming into impact. Again, lead side is sort of higher than the trail side. You can see that lead wrist in that bowed position. And then he comes into impact with, what is that? 10 degrees, 9-10 degrees of forward shaft lean, which, he's going to get an awful lot of compression. And speaking of compression, let's just draw a line in the center of his chest here, straight down, and we'll draw a line in the center of his pelvis. So this is a key move, guys, if you're recording your swing from face on. Having the club face strike the ball between these two lines is how you're going to get compression on the golf ball. You're trapping the ball between the line of the center of the chest and the line of the center of the pelvis. This is the secret move, the secret sauce. So if you can get yourself into this position, you're going to hit some very, very good golf shots. As he sort of, you can see the amount of pressure that he puts onto the shaft there with that lead wrist. And then he's just got this absolutely wonderful line of compression up the shaft, through the lead arm, through the lead hip. And it's just absolutely beautiful. Again, you can see how much shift he's had into his lead side here. Angle there is sort of 61 degrees. You often get like a lot of amateurs, still in this position, not really shifted into the lead side that much. And then just rotates through with that very square and stable face. Wonderful action from Collin Morikawa. I would say in the last 12 months, he's kind of, still a very, very good player, but not probably achieved the things that he would have wanted to achieve. So looks like he's finding some form. Excited to see how he performs this year on the tour and in some of the majors. Thanks very much for stopping by, guys. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. We'll be back with more swing videos and swing tips very shortly.